For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We once again begin in Colombia, where peace talks between the Colombian government and FARC guerrillas remain stalled. A 36-hour ceasefire will be implemented between the two sides. Expectations are mounting as President Juan Manuel Santos announced Thursday that the operation for the liberation of General Rubén Darío Alzate is already underway. Discussions are still taking place. For the latest, we go to our correspondent Charles Parkinson.
There's a great deal of anticipation here in Colombia that General Rubén Darío Alzate could be released today, 21st of November. That anticipation's been stoked by a report that came out this morning on the website of Newsweekly Semana, which of course has links to the family of President Juan Manuel Santos. That report quoted an unnamed high-ranking member of the Santos administration as saying that today would be the day for Alzate's liberation. What's unclear is whether the two companions he was with when he was captured last Sunday by the FARC, that's another member of the military and a female lawyer, will also be freed today, or whether two soldiers who were captured weeks ago in an entirely different part of the country, but who the FARC have pledged to also release, would be made free today as well. However, while there are many questions swirling around this situation, with Santos having said the peace talks would not restart until Alzate is made free, today there is hope that the negotiations could reinitiate very soon. Charles Parkinson in Bogota, Colombia.
And in Mexico, protesters remain angry at the government after the presumed massacre of 43 students. They clashed with police last night outside the National Palace. Tens of thousands of people rallied in the capital waving blackened Mexican flags. They chanted urgent, urgent for the president to resign. Some protesters attacked the police. The police eventually swarmed and took back the square. And we move on to South America and Peru, where a new labor movement seems to be emerging in the country's politics. Here's our correspondent, Rael Mora.
Workers from 3 major Peruvian paper companies have been on strike for over 50 days. Because of such, they have been unable to support their families with an income. However, they're determined to continue with their struggle in search of a better future.
They are all determined to continue until the end, until we get what we are asking for, which is the increase of salaries and the starting payment rates. And this will have an impact on the basic food basket we bring home for our families.
The paper companies are trying to avoid negotiations with the goal of weakening the movement. At the same time, union leaders are denouncing the lack of support from the government.
I don't know until when they are going to stop tightening the noose on us. Obviously, the businessmen are happy. We are going to respond, I believe, with more strain and especially tell the government that the workers were the ones who elected them. In spite of that, they showed us their backs within the year, and now it's like they don't even know us.
Workers at these paper companies have formed unions, and they're reviving the labor movement in defiance of an anti-union environment that reigns in the country. Reporting from Lima, Peru for Telesur, Rael Mora.
And thanks to Rael, now we go to Chile, where 2 former members of the Pinochet regime have been sentenced to 3 years in prison for their part in the torture and killing of the father of President Michelle Bachelet. Edgar Ceballos Jones and Ramon Canceres Jorquera were found guilty of torturing General Bachelet following the military coup of 1973, which saw General Pinochet take power until 1990. General Bachelet was tortured at the Air Force Academy along with thousands of others, which led to his death. Many were disappointed with the lenient 3-year sentence. Taking a look at world news, U.S. Vice President Joe Biden told Russia Friday it faced paying an even higher price over Ukraine. It comes as tensions increase on the first anniversary of mass protests, which unleashed a year of turmoil. Moscow denies giving military assistance to pro-Russian separatists in a 7-month conflict, which has killed over 4,000 people. But Biden says that Russia is trying to take more territory. He also hinted at further sanctions.
It's simply unacceptable in the 21st century for countries to attempt to redraw borders by force in Europe, or anywhere for that matter, or to intervene militarily because they don't like the decision their neighbor has made.
And staying in Ukraine, President Petro Poroshenko attended a memorial ceremony to protesters who died during the Maidan demonstrations, marking 12 months since the start of the movement. Dozens of protesters attended the commemoration. Parents of several of those killed in the turmoil shouted shame as Poroshenko walked past. And in the U.S., Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives are suing over the implementation of President Barack Obama's signature health care law. According to court documents, the lawsuit challenges two actions taken by the administration while implementing the law known as Obamacare. U.S. Central Command has released new operational video showing what it says are a series of airstrikes hitting Islamic State targets near Kirkuk, Iraq. Central Command said the targets included a building, a bunker, and a tunnel network used by Islamic State. The strikes were conducted as part of Inherent Resolve, the operation that began in August to eliminate the terrorist group. And in the UK, the right-wing UKIP party won a second seat in the British Parliament. The UK Independence Party comfortably beat Prime Minister Cameron's Tory party in a special election in the southeast English constituency of Rochester. It comes 6 months before what is shaping up to be a closely fought national vote. The UK Independence Party wants Britain out of the EU and to decrease immigration numbers. Finally, in Greece, riot police officers fired flash grenades at protesters after thousands demonstrated outside the Ministry of Education in Athens on Friday. Students were due to meet with the Education Ministry. They were demanding adequate funding for schools and universities and better support for working students. Another student strike has been called for November 27th to coincide with industrial action from the All Workers Militant Front. And we end on this Friday with a cultural note, I guess. Participants competing in the South American Pole Championship braved the wind and rain in downtown Buenos Aires to show off their pole dancing skills on one of the city's main avenues. They used city spaces and even tubular scaffolding as they use those as improvised poles to show how the pole has successfully extended outside of the strip clubs from which it originated. Winners will move on to the World Championships in Beijing. Talented. More on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English for Telesur English. I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great weekend.